we have a hot guest to bring on, producer AB. The first time he came on this show, he called the stock, and the stock ran like 60% the next day.
Yeah, Corey in the chat saying, "What's up with SMSI?" I'm glad you asked, Corey, because we have a guy, Ben, who's going to come on from Story Investing and give us, Story Trading, that's going to give us some more insight on SMSI as well as some other stocks he picked out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Ben on. Ben, how we doing?
Good. How you doing? A lot of action, a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, guys. So if you're new here, maybe you haven't seen Ben on the show before. Ben is from Story Trading. You can go follow him on Twitter. I'll also drop the website in the chat. Ben, before we start getting into the tickers, can you just give us the kind of lowdown on Story Trading, what the mission is there?
Yeah, sure. Story trading, the ultimate goal is to explain market price action, to discover the story behind the trade. And the premise behind that is that there's reasons for why stocks move up and down. And through crowdsourced collaboration and social networking in our community, we can identify those catalysts that cause stocks to go up or down, thereby giving people a better understanding of the behavior of the stock, the investor expectations behind the stock. And then you can make better trading and investing decisions. So right now we collaborate as a community on WhatsApp and on Zoom, and we have our own app that we're building on iOS and Android coming out very soon. You could go to our website and sign up for the wait list for that app.
Beautiful.
Right, and wait, before you get into it, producer AB, with the stocks, Ben, recount the story of your first time that you came on the show. You dropped a symbol and then that thing ran.
I did. I dropped a symbol. It was around $5.50. It was Aehr, A-E-H-R.
A-E-H-R, okay.
Yeah, that was a stock I've owned for 2 or 3 years, and I identified an inflection point in the stock a couple weeks earlier with my colleague Ashley Day in our VIP meetings that we have on Sunday nights. I got in a big way at around $2.70. By the time I got on Benzinga, it was around $5.50. And that afternoon, it ran to like $9+ in after hours.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wait, so it must have been, which day would it have been? It would have been like around here or something then when you
No, it was that big green candle there.
This one?
No, keep going.
Further back.
Oh, it's this one.
Yeah, that was the day.
Oh, baby.
And Ben, you kind of made it tough on yourself because it's hard to follow up. And now our audience sees you and they expect the 60 to 100% runners.
I know.
So, maybe just next time start us out with like a 10-20% runner, so you don't have to try to follow up the 100% runner.
Yeah, I'll do my best. So yeah, I got a lot to talk about. First, I just want to mention before we get into Aehr, I want to acknowledge what's going on in the market. On SPY, on the Qs, on IWM, there's a lot of important moving averages being breached. 50-day moving averages in particular across the board pretty much. It's something that we've been here before, and it doesn't necessarily mean we dive down to the 200-day moving average, but it is a risk. It is something people worry about. I'm personally not doing much about it because I've been trading for over 20 years. And on many, many occasions, I've been able to time the top or time getting out just in time when there's a crash, but I never get back in on the reversal. And looking back months later, I'm like, I would have been better off if I never made a move. So that's been my experience. So I haven't made many moves today, except I did raise a little bit of cash with Affirm. That was just a trade I made when they got the Amazon deal. So I was up on that, raised a little bit of cash in pre-market. And I added to a VIP stock, a Story Trading VIP stock called QC Copper and Gold, QCCUF. I've never mentioned it on here before, but we have videos on it.
QCCUF. Wait, is this right?
Yeah. QCCUF. Yeah, it's up about 30%. Well, right at this moment, 22%. Yeah, so that's a VIP pick. I've held it for months. They had significant news today. I think this could be a 5 to 10 bagger. So I added this morning. I'm still on the bid, actually. I'm trying to buy more. But so that's all the moves I made today so far. Sold a little Affirm, buying more QC, And when you're ready, I can get into some of my prepared slides. I'll give you an update on Aehr and some other stocks.
Yeah.
Baby,
If you want,
let's hear it.
if you want to go ahead and
Let's start
share
with the update on Aehr, and then let's rip into the new stocks. How's that?
If you want to go ahead and share your screen, we'll get it pulled up. Real quick, one thing I like to do on days like this where SPY's down, you know, almost 2% or 2% at this point, is I like to look around and see kind of which stocks are down more than the market and which stocks are down less or even up. Because I think while the markets are getting crushed, when you do see those one or two stocks that are green, that's a good sign. That just shows you some are cyclical assets, like gold might be doing well today, or you know, things like that. But outside of that, if say, I don't know if there are any big name stocks that are actually like up today, but say like Amazon is down only.
Well, here, I'll check for you, producer.
Oh no,
Hey,
Amazon.
guys, if you're wondering what tool I'm using, this is the movers widget in Benzinga Pro. Okay, you go to Benzinga Pro, pro.com, 2-week free trial. Okay, totally free. You can follow along. I'll even put the link in the chat, make it easy for everyone. But AB, here are all the stocks over. There's 300 million market cap. If you want big stocks, we'll move it to 10 billion plus market cap. These are the large cap stocks that are up today. AstraZeneca, a lot of energy stocks, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm seeing American Airlines in there. So there are some stocks that, you know, could just be up from.
Wait, where do you see American Airlines? Oh, right there.
AAL up
wow,
about.
It's the only airline in the group.
I know. So that's showing me that there's some. So American Airlines is showing some relative strength, not only against the market, but also against its industry, against airlines. So things like that, I kind of like to add to my watch list on days and saying, hey, like American Airlines might be strong throughout the week. You know, maybe airlines in general right now are performing better than the market. So I think even on down days like this, there are always opportunities. You have to be a little bit, you know, I guess less risk averse if you're worried about like an overall market correction that could still hurt some of these names. But yeah, I mean, that's just something that I like to do is kind of add stocks to my watch list that are performing better than the market or better than their relative peers.
Yeah, and here I'll call out one more thing. I know we're trying to get to AEHR, but just while I'm seeing it. So if we look at a lot of these stocks that are up today, notice that there's a lot of energy names that are trading higher today. There's a handful of them in there. USO, that's the ETF that tracks the price of oil, is actually down. So the oil futures are actually down in price. What that suggests at a first glance to me is that there's some rotation into those energy stocks. You know, it might be dollars that are rotating out of like your triple Q stocks, you know, tech heavy index into so some of the energy names.
2.7% now, man. That's
a
big move.
2.7%, and we're at the low of the day.
Wow.
And we're
just sitting at that low.
We typically see that, Luke, when there's market weakness, that you know, money flows into the value stocks, into the stocks that are, you know, currently making a lot of money compared to the more speculative assets like your, you know, big tech companies that are looked at as more growth opportunities. But yeah, Ben, without further ado, let's get to AEHR. I know we've got a lot to kind of run through, but we've got some extra time today.
Okay, great. Let me know when that screen is up. Great. Yeah, quick disclaimer I got to do. StoryTrading is not an investment advisor. Investing in securities involves significant risk of loss. We talked about what StoryTrading is. So Aehr, there it is. There's a chart. We're looking at fundamentals, catalyst, sentiment, and technicals to do this. This is what I presented. It was $5.60 at the Benzinga. And look what happened since. It consolidated and it kept on running. It hit $12. Right now it's $10.89. So let's find out what's going on.
And sorry, Ben, but before you really get into it, can you just give us some background as to what the company is, what it does, how it makes money?
Sure. They test semiconductor chips that are used in this case, silicon carbide is where most of their business comes from. These are chips that are primarily right now being used in electric vehicles. Tesla is probably, from everything we can glean, the end customer for most of their business right now. So they sell their testing equipment to a semiconductor manufacturer called onsemi, and then those chips make their way over to Tesla for EV. But their technology can be used in many, many other industries that have a lot of other things going on that could help explode the stock even further. But just the EV alone and the silicon carbide testing of those chips alone is something that could continue to be a very strong tailwind for the stock.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Keep going.
Okay, great. So I just want to review what happened here when it got from 270 to 560. So quickly, when I presented last time, that's 17.4 million orders in 6 weeks. And this was a real inflection point for the company because it signified that they're going to be getting recurring transactions because they're testing technology. These chips in the past were only used for sampling. So Apple was one of their big customers. But it was used for sampling to verify that their production was going well, and it was. So they didn't need to test every single chip coming out of the system. But with electric vehicles, the chips, the silicon carbide chips, a lot more sensitive. Testing a sample is not enough. You have to test each and every single one and burn them in, basically. Get the ones that are not good, get it out of the system. Otherwise, the EV cars can kind of stop in the middle. So the inflection was recognizing that this is going to be recurring orders. So look what happened since I presented to you guys last. They got another. They had 17.4 million orders. They got another 23.6 million orders in just 2 weeks. It started with a 3 million EV order. The impact is wrong on there. I started with a 3 million order. Then August 31st, 1.2 million order for a separate use case, silicon photonics, which is something that can be huge. It could be related potentially to the Apple Watch coming out in a couple of years. We'll talk about that. And then they got the biggest order in company history a week after that, 19.4 million orders. Significantly in that press release, they talk about use in also electric storage and solar power conversion, which makes it even more clear the end customer here is Tesla. And you can see that the impact on the stock price is 583, 691, 839. This is before the news came out. Now we're at 1090. This week we have a catalyst. We have earnings Thursday after the close. I don't know what the market's doing, but the stock is holding up well. It's only down 2% after the stock is like over tripled in the last 2 months. That's amazing. I think we could see a lot of strength today going into earnings on Thursday. We can maybe see an earnings anticipation run. One thing I want to caution people, the numbers won't be on the top line in this report. They just did this 19.4 million was after that quarter close. So some people just be careful. Don't expect like 20 million quarterly number. It doesn't happen like that, right? But nonetheless, people can be anticipating a great quarter. The stock might run up. I'm going to be looking at backlog and guidance to figure out what I do on, with the report. Initially, when I went on, I told you guys I'd be looking. First of all, I did say $50 to $100 in 2 to 3 years. I think that's still on the table. As far as trading, I said I was looking to take some off the table in the $9 plus range. Well, with all this news that happened, I really haven't done that. And my new target to take some off the table is in the teens. I had to take off a small amount because I had calls that were expiring and I had a little bit of a margin thing I had to take care of. So I did sell a very small amount, but I still have over 90% of my position. And at this point, I'm still holding.
Yeah, I mean, I know since you've been on the first time, we've had a lot of chat interest about AHR, even on days where, you're not on, people in the chat are still asking about it. And yeah, I mean, I think, right here, we're just waiting for that next big catalyst. If AHR announces that Tesla is a partner, I think we'll see that stock run. Do you have any opinions?
Yeah, that's not going to be announced because they're not the direct customer. They're the end customer. So they sell their product to the semiconductor manufacturers, not to Tesla directly. In fact, it's possible they have more than Tesla. They may have multiple EV customers already right now. So that's not something that's going to be announced.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. Because I was thinking if we do get that announcement that Tesla is, a partner, that we'll see that stock run even more. But like we were talking about earlier, I mean, AHR is showing, it's not down as much as maybe some others in the EV market today. The chart's actually looking pretty good on the 1 day chart. So
yeah, it's strong. It's strong because of earnings this week, I think. And here's the chart here: 17.4 million in 6 weeks, followed by 23.6 million in 2 weeks. There is one sentiment issue that people should be aware of. September 4th, they filed a shelf for up to $75 million in offerings. Now, at the time when that happened, I was actually very bullish about that because I know their financial situation. It's pretty good. They get paid 30% cash up front. This is not, something out of desperation. I predicted that they filed that because good news was coming. And like the next day, they announced the 19.4 million. So they're only going to sell stock if the stock is, really inflated. And they were just preparing for that because they knew the good orders were coming. That was followed up with a couple of days ago. As part of the 75 million, they filed a 25 million ATM. They haven't sold any yet. Again, I think this is a signal that they know good news is coming and they want to be in a position to take advantage of very high prices to just shore up their balance sheet a little bit.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times people have kind of obviously negative reactions to any time a company raises money, but it doesn't always mean it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, and there you go. I have a point here. There are raises you need to survive, which are bad raises that can impact the stock badly, and raises that you want for growth, which is a good thing. And this is the latter.
Yep, and we've seen a bunch of really strong companies, do offerings for that reason, to grow rather than out of necessity. So definitely not something that's a deal breaker for me, at least. Let me see. Let us know in the chat if you have any questions about AHR. I'm sure Ben can either answer them or at least direct you toward the info that you need to answer those questions. Do we have more on AHR, Ben, or we're getting?
No, that's all I got. So you let me know when you're ready to move on.
Yeah, sounds good. I just want to give the chat 1 second to see if we have any questions fly in. If not, we'll move on to the next one.
All right. So we did present a couple other stocks at Benzinga, and I'm all about accountability. I'm not going to put a stock out there and forget about it if it does poorly. So there were 3 other stocks we mentioned. SMSI has performed poorly. It was 560 or 570-ish, I think. I don't know exactly what it was at the time I presented on July 26th. It's now, before today, 470. If you recall, I was waiting for a big announcement with T-Mobile or Verizon. That hasn't happened. It seems fundamentally all those things are still happening, but the PR is not happening. And that's something that they don't have total control over. It's based on when the carriers decide to PR it. So that's why it didn't happen. I lost a great amount of money on calls on that. So I missed that. I still own the common shares. It's fundamentally, the story is intact. Just not playing any calls on that anymore because the timing of the PR is kind of unknown.
Got it. Yeah, and we appreciate the accountability. You're setting a bad example for me though, because then anytime that I get a stock that doesn't perform well, I gotta go back to it and own up to it. So let me know in the chat which stocks that I need to be accountable with and go back and revisit. Definitely Baba for me recently. Kathy's asking, did she miss AEH? I'm assuming she's talking about AEHR. Kathy, we just talked about AEHR. If you rewind about 10 minutes, you'll see us give the lowdown and break down what the most recent news is on AEHR. All right, Ben. Well, so we got SMSI. Yeah. What else is on the docket?
We also presented a VTSI. It's a riot police training. I don't know if you remember that, but we did present that. It's done very well. It was 726 when we presented it. Before today, it was 896. I think it's down with the market today, 853, but it's still up. They've had a couple orders keep flowing in since we presented to you. I still own it. I actually have some also deep in the money calls, so I'm very happy with how that's holding up.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I think this is one in an industry that has, of course, long been dominated by, just one name or two names. Taser comes to mind. But I think as we see, we see companies spending money trying to fix this problem that, obviously there's a demand out there to fix. As far as police brutality, there will be a lot of other players that become, sound investments. So this is one that definitely could be good for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do like this one for the long term. Another one, which I'm very bullish on, I have a relatively large position, is DRIO Health. This has been basically parroting copying the Teladoc chart. Teladoc's like the bellwether for this industry, and all the digital health plays are following that stock. That's been up 16% since the presentation before, whatever it's doing today. It may be down today. Yeah, it is down 8% today, but it's probably still up since I presented it. So here we're waiting for game-changing news of an insurer. I still believe that news is coming, and when it comes, the stock will quickly reflate to $20+. I spoke to the CEO last week. He said no changes, in his guidance. He still says it's imminent that these insurer deals are going to be coming. So I'm very excited about that, and I still own it. I think it's going to pay off as just a matter of time.
Yeah. This one is definitely one that we've been seeing in the chat a lot, watching this one as well. Kind of similar things to about the police brutality market. It's just a very growing industry, right? You have digital health, Teladoc, as you mentioned, kind of DRIO is kind of tracking Teladoc, but I think as we see more and more digital health evolve, we'll see a lot of names kind of become good investments. I'm seeing David Miller in the chat saying Aehr just went green. When we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, I pointed that out, that the chart actually looked good today, especially compared to everything else out there. So definitely some strength in Aehr right now.
And that's exciting. When you get a stock that's green on a red day like this, sometimes they can squeeze. I'm not saying it's going to squeeze at all. I'm not saying that. There's not a huge short position in Aehr, but sometimes you can get unbelievably great performance in stocks that stand out because all the traders are looking for what's green and they may all pile into a green stock. So I wouldn't complain if that happened today.
Yeah, speaking of squeezes, so I was watching it earlier. Smile Direct Club opened up and went up a bunch. I think about like 4%, which actually isn't that much, but compared to everything else today, seeing a stock that was up 4% was looked like it's doing pretty well. And since then, the stock's been trading down more than 11% from its highs, currently at 646. So a lot of people kind of chatting about Smile Direct Club on different forums, Reddit, Twitter, you have it. Smile Direct Club picking up a lot of interest from retail traders. So that is one that is going to be on my watch list for the week.
I've been tracking that. Reddit is excited about it. A huge short position. I think they're artificially trying to generate something. I don't love plays like that. I don't believe there's any recent fundamental news justifying it, although I didn't do the full research on it. But I just think there's stocks out there they just target with very high short positions. They go in there, they try to generate gamma squeezes by buying a bunch of calls. I think that's what they're trying to do with SDC.
Yeah, I mean, and I mentioned this before on the show that I think with some certain stocks like this, like, all right, you have to keep a couple things in mind. There's a reason certain stocks have such a high short interest. And a lot of times it's because there are fundamental problems in the company that people are identifying and going out and saying, hey, this makes for a good short because X, Y, and Z, for whatever reason it is. But I've said it before that I think with stocks, like Smile Direct Club or like Wish, that may have problems with the company, but that could be candidates for a short squeeze. I don't hate the idea of taking some money, maybe, for me, like I'll take like $500 and just buy some calls that I know, like, hey, look, there's a good chance these calls expire worthless. But if this comes to fruition and this stock does run, then my $500 calls are worth, $2,500 or, 5 times the amount. So I think if you keep your risk very limited, like, okay, this is a finite amount of money I can lose on these calls, and I'm willing to take that risk on, that it's not a bad way to play some of these like very speculative squeeze opportunities.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so I got a few more quick ones. I know we're running short on time, but we've had every Sunday night we have presentations at StoryTrading. Sometimes there's new stocks, sometimes there aren't. When there's a new stock, we track it as a VIP pick. So we've had 3 new stocks presented since we're with you. First one I'm pointing out is GMER. It's an NFT gaming stock. I'm excited about this because I know NFT is really hot. I never got into anything NFT, but the presentation by our colleague Michael Cook was really good, strong presentation. I got in. The stock's up 20%, 28% since it was presented. I own the stock. Let me just run through these, and then if there's questions, we can get into it. Another one that was presented by a strong presenter in our community, Aaron Warwick, is INFU Systems, INFU. Very strong fundamental story. We're tracking on our website as a VIP pick. It's down 10% since the presentation. I don't own this one. Then Rockley. This is interesting. We got to take a minute here. Rockley is a stock that was uncovered during the research on Aehr test systems. So Ashley Day, who presented to our community Aehr test systems, he found Rockley. This was a SPAC that was originally SC Health. Now, Rockley has these silicon photonic chips they work with, which Aehr has a testing solution for. And Apple has been working with RKLY. Apple's given $70 million so far to RKLY to generate these chips, which have lasers on them that allow, they have health sensors with lasers that can do continuous glucose monitoring, heart rate, pulse ox, things like that. So this is like really the next generation in terms of med tech and digital home monitoring. And this is for the 2023 Apple Watch, I believe, that's being developed. Market cap's only $1 billion. I think that's so cheap if this comes to fruition. It's been extremely volatile. I own it. I've also been shorting the puts because the premiums are so high because of the high volatility. But this is just an exciting stock. You know, we talked about digital health, Teladoc, and DRIO. And I've always had this vision of the future of, you know, if you're a Star Trek fan, they had these tricorders, right? You go into the medical bay and, they put this tricorder of your body. And I've always been excited for that future. And I feel like this is a big step towards that, this Apple Watch that's coming from RKLY. And if this continues, if there's no holdups here and this comes out in 2023, I'm thinking RKLY can be a 10-20 bagger. So I'm long RKLY and excited about the association with Aehr because Aehr might be in a position to test these special chips coming out of RKLY that's going to Apple.
Yeah, I mean, I love this play. I think that I think that's what we're going to see in the new developments in Apple Watches and in wearable tech is, just more health insights. And I think, obviously the global pandemic has, created an even bigger demand for this. Because I know Apple Watch, right now people were talking about like, oh, with COVID, like how great it would be if you could see your, like oxygen levels, and all that data that in the future we will have on our wrists. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. Very much so. I think this is a stock. I'll take I guess what's the downside risk? I don't know. Apple says it's not working out. We're just going to cancel a contract. I guess there's a chance of that. But so far, based on all the data I'm seeing coming out of the companies, it looks good. So if this proceeds, I can't imagine this not being a 20, 30, $40 billion company. So I'm just going to diamond hand this one, honestly. Yeah, and I'm looking at the chart right now. It looks like after the SPAC was announced, the stock ran up to about $16 and since trading lower, currently at $8.64. But kind of like AHR, it's actually green on the day, which we haven't seen a lot of stocks that are green on the day. So could be showing some strength right now. Adding this to the watch list for sure, Ben. RKLY. Why do you think it's just cheaper for Apple to kind of be outsourcing this rather than trying to develop this tech in-house? Develop their own semiconductor chips. I mean, that's a huge industry. You're talking about RKLY's outsourcing this to fab. I'm not sure which one, but like what you want to be Intel, on semi, Tower Sem, Tower Sem, TSEM. That's $1 trillion market cap right there. So maybe one day they'll make their own chips. But for now they are relying on RKLY. Okay, so RKLY makes actual chips that empowers these lasers and what? Well, RKLY you're saying is outsourcing the actual chip making to a company, yeah. But they have all the patents. Yeah. Okay, so it's TSM or AMD or someone like that. Something like that. I'm not sure who they're using. Yeah. Got it. Roy in the chat saying, do your research on CRISPR chips. These chips will help diagnose and cure chronic illnesses using DNA editing. I don't know if you have any insight on CRISPR. I've heard a lot about it. It seems fascinating. I haven't researched it, but definitely something I'd like to look into. Okay, awesome. Ben, do you have any other stocks on the radar for today? Yeah, I just want to mention, first of all, these VIP picks. We've had 53 of them since May 2020. We're dramatically outperforming the market. It's an average of 49% return over a 245-day holding period, which is 73% annualized. You can see that performance at storytrading.com/performance. Quickly, I want to mention a couple other VIP picks that are doing well today. I did mention QCCUF. Doing great. It's actually because of this, my trading account is up today, believe it or not, just because of the move on QCCU, QC Copper and Gold. There's one more I forgot to put a bullet on here, which is TPCS, another VIP pick, which is a highly popular stock in our community. Perhaps we'll do a dedicated presentation on TPCS. They just had a major technical event Friday. They broke out to a new multi-year high above $1.75. I bought shares on the breakout Friday, and it's holding up today at $1.75 in this kind of market.
I love the chart. I'm excited about that. I think just technically this can go to 2+ in the very, very short term. So maybe we'll come back and do some updates on one of these picks at some point.
Got it. Yeah, I'd love that. I don't know if you have a minute, Ben, but we are getting some questions in the chat. Sure. G Massic is asking about AMD. I don't know what your thoughts on are kind of, the whole semiconductor industry as a large.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know a lot about AMD. I don't do a lot of research on big caps. Sometimes I'll invest in big cap stocks just because I like the industry and the TAM. But specifically, like research-wise, I don't know anything specific about AMD to tell you on that. I apologize for that.
Got it. All right, let me see if we have any other questions in the chat. Seeing if anything that you might have some. The last pick, I believe you meant TP or TSCN. What was the ticker again?
TPCS.
TPCS.
They make submarines for the U.S. military. I mean, submarine parts. Lots of submarine parts. I don't know the details exactly which parts, but they make lots of parts. They have military contracts, and they did a merger recently, which is going to dramatically increase their revenue. And I think they're having a conference call next week. They just announced this morning. They're going to have a conference call next week to talk about the merger. But just look at that chart. I just think it's ready to explode.
Yep. And just a quick note. I mean, obviously, any of these super small companies, micro caps, are going to be a little bit riskier than some of your big names. So just do with that what you will. But yeah, Ben, thank you for coming on today. It's good to check in on all the stocks that we've talked about, SMSI, AEHR. And yeah, I know we get a lot of questions from the chat about these stocks. So we'll have to have you back on soon to get more updates as they come.
Sounds good. Maybe we'll talk about the AEHR earnings on Friday or next week.
Yeah. So that's coming out. That's on the 23rd.
Thursday after the close. Yeah.
That's this Thursday. Okay, got it. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the link again to StoryTrading in the chat. If you haven't checked it out already, please do. That's where Ben and his team shares, their DD and VIP picks. As he mentioned, a lot of those picks are outperforming the market. But yeah, I just want to make that clear that some of these smaller names do, become a little bit riskier investments than some of the more established names.
All right. Thank you.
Any big plans for the rest of the day, Ben?
I got a deal. Both of my cars were flooded out by Hurricane Ida. Oh my gosh.
Oh, where are you located?
New York. Yeah, it was terrible, man. Yeah, so I'm still dealing with that, and we had some flooding in our home, so it's been crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure all the insurance companies are kind of like bogged down.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah.
Probably not the quickest customer service right now in the world.
Yep.
All right, Ben. Well, like I said, thank you again for coming on. We'll get you back on after the AEHR earnings. I know this is one that Zinger Nation is watching.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
All right, Ben. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck with the cars.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right, you too. All right, y'all. That was Ben from StoryTrading. Go check out the site if you haven't already.